Okay, good morning. Good morning. Haiti Oropesa with Florida You Judge. And we're going to get started in a couple of minutes. We're still waiting on another guest, Michelle Williams, who's going to be weighing in, engaging in this discussion this morning on recent headlines here locally in the Tampa Bay area. So, and good morning, Joshua Monteiro. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Eddie. How are you?
Good, good. God is good. I am doing good. So we're gonna give a couple of minutes before we start. And I did want to hold on a second. Okay, it is, let's see, what time do you have? I have is it 10:03?
I got 10:02, but close enough.
Okay, 10:02. Good morning. Again, Haiti Oropesa. And we're going to get started in the next couple of minutes. We're going to be talking about a recent news story that just came out a couple of days ago in regards to a policy reversal by the newly appointed Hillsborough County State Attorney, Susan Lopez. Many of you locally here may already know about that development. The governor of this state suspended the elected state attorney who was elected in 2016 and re-elected in 2020 to serve the citizens there in Hillsborough County. And he, as he promised during his election, he kept true to his word that he was going to implement policies that would support both public safety, but also there were reforms that were good for the criminal justice system. And we're going to go ahead and start, Josh. I'm still waiting for Michelle Williams, but I'm going to show for the edification of the public. I want to share the first news article piece coverage where the former state attorney, again, Andrew Warren, who was elected in 2016 and 2020. Could you see that, Joshua?
I can see a little bit of like the guy on the bike, but I can't see the whole story.
Okay, so basically, let me just go ahead and read through this. Newly appointed. Oh wait, no, we're gonna go ahead. That's not the one that I want to read. Hold on. What was this one? Okay. This is the one that I want to share. Are you able to see that one? Yeah, we can see that right there. So in February of this year, Fox 13 puts out a news story, and the title is "Resisting Arrest Without Violence Will Not Be Prosecuted for Bicycle Stops in Tampa." State attorney says, that's the former state attorney. He's saying that he's still the duly elected state attorney. He's going to be fighting the recent suspension. But in February of this year, it was reported the Hillsborough County State Attorney has instituted a new policy when it comes to stops of bicyclists in order to create more fairness for who ends up in court. The phrase "biking while black" burst onto the scene in 2015 when it was found that the Tampa Police Department was stopping an atypical number of bicyclists, and 80% of those who were stopped were black. The number was so disproportionate, it drew the ire of the Department of Justice. The finding led to a federal report that found the program was ineffective in stopping crime and that TPD placed an undue burden on bikers who were Black. What it did do unintentionally is have a disparate impact on people of color, said Ronald Davis of the Department of Justice's Community-Oriented Policing Office in 2016. 3 years later, the percentage dropped to under 60% after the feds warned it was not as good at reducing the bike thefts or promoting bike safety as it was in saddling young men with criminal records. Okay. Just 6 weeks ago, Hillsborough, and that would be February of this year, Hillsborough County State Attorney, or actually they reported it on February, so 6 weeks before February, Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren sent a memo saying it is no longer appropriate to prosecute those who are stopped on bikes whose only charges are that they resisted an officer without violence. The memo says Black defendants make up 33.6% of misdemeanor cases, but 49% of all resisting without violence defendants. More than 70% of cases that spring from a pedestrian or bike stop have Black defendants. These stops don't actually have any impact on public safety, and they undermine the trust between law enforcement and the community they serve, said Warren. But he says it will have an impact on the 40 cases per year that this would apply to. The memo says the policy does not pass judgment on the reasonable suspicion or probable cause necessary to conduct a bike stop, and the state attorney's office continues to recognize they are a valid law enforcement instrument under the appropriate circumstances. It may have a small impact because it's not a lot of cases we're talking about, said Warren, but it is reflective of the innovative approach we are taking to find solutions to make our system better. Gray says it's an important step in large-scale criminal justice reform. That's Stanley Gray, being quoted there, which advocates say has had mixed results statewide. We need to have continued dialogue, continued analysis, and continued actions until we get to a point where we can actually say there is no class discrimination and that justice and liberty is equal for everyone, said Gray. It's not there yet. So we have that. That happened, was reported on February of, okay, Michelle's on. Good morning, Michelle. I just wanted to read the actual article that came out earlier this year from the perspective of Andrew Warren, who was removed from the governor, what he had implemented. What he implemented was we're not doing any more prosecutions on resisting arrest without violence, where it started with a bike stop. And that's the only charge that they had, the officers. Okay, now, so let's stick there, public. I remember in social studies class when I was in junior high, Miami Lakes Junior, we had to go into the newspaper and cut out an article and read it and share it with the class. And that was a good thing. That was a good thing because my teacher was teaching us, read the news, be up on what's going on, look in your community, in the world, so that you know. The word of God says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. When the community is out chasing the American dream and not following up on what's happening, these policies, whatever they may be hurting or helpful, but we have to be part of making sure that the persons that are in office are doing right by we the people. So that's why I like to kind of make this an exercise too, of let's read what's out there and also vet the news stories that are out there, because sometimes they're not accurate. But let's go ahead. That happens in February. And now Susan Lopez is the newly appointed by Governor DeSantis after he removes Andrew Warren, and his policy that he put in place has just been reversed. Okay. And we're going to read that. Newly appointed Hillsborough State Attorney reverses controversial bike stop policy. In a memo sent to her employees this week, Lopez wrote, effective immediately. Any policy my predecessor put in place that called for presumptive non-enforcement of the laws of Florida is immediately rescinded. This includes the bike stop and pedestrian stop policy. These are programs that we entered into with the sheriff's office, with Tampa police, with all local law enforcement, said Warren. So now they're throwing out policies that have been put in place, that have been working, that the community wants. That's not democracy. That's not good for Hillsborough County. In 2016, bike stop cases in Tampa became known by opponents as biking while black and led to a Department of Justice investigation. The DOJ determined nearly 75% of bicyclists stopped by Tampa were black. So we're gonna stop this share. Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
No, Haiti, you and I have talked several years regarding not only the biking while black. We went and got two of the most prominent attorneys, Luke LaRoe and Michael Maddox, that we both interviewed regarding this said issue. I'm deeply disturbed by this, being an activist and a civil rights leader here, to see, one of the most profound mishaps and misfortunes of the black race and the black community overturned in just a few short hours. Um, uh, you and I have spoken privately, where I have alluded to there is definitely something bigger. There's a bigger picture that's going on regarding these issues, and I'm paying attention to this. I like the fact that you put the Bible scripture in, that my people will perish for lack of knowledge. This is something that we say quite often in the black community. Um, the code 1000 for allegedly resisting an officer without violence. We all know it's punishable according to the Florida statute and the Sunshine Law. That it's a misdemeanor, punishable up to $1,000 fine, could be 1 year in prison. Dr. King said it best, that creative suffering, that they will put laws on the book to target black people. And this has become a creative suffering mechanism that has been put into place with this. I tell my story all the time. The 9 years of felony probation that I was on, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. And because I told the state of Florida, get your foot off my neck. You will not demean my character by something that you made up. Um, I'm disturbed by this, and I'm disturbed by Susan Lopez, because she has good character, and I think that there are people behind her pulling the strings.
Okay, so no, you know what? I have interacted with Susan during the Mark Ober campaign, and she has a good reputation. I have colleagues that I respect highly that say that she's fair. Okay. And she strikes me as very down to earth, and that she's going to listen and not be tyrannical. So we shall see. She started now her tenure as state attorney. We shall see. But Joshua, and good morning, Monteiro has been a public defender. He served in the military, and he's going to be seeking to be the next Hillsborough County Public Defender. He's going to be running in the 2024 cycle. Many of you don't know this, but the current incumbent of the public defender's office, I believe she's been in office for 30 something years, has retired, or has announced retirement rather. And so there are three candidates who will be, or three individuals rather. One has officially filed. And so there's two others that have announced that they will be seeking also to become the next Hillsborough County Public Defender. One of them is Josh. Josh, what do you have to say about these current developments in the change of policy?
Well, Haiti, thanks for having me on. I'll say I was at the public defender's office when a lot of this was going on, and I was in the juvenile division at the time, and we'd see a lot of the young black kids that were coming in on these charges. And most of the time, I tell you, it's a pretext to stop them and search them. So, but it turns into more, because you have these young black kids who are riding a bike down the street, and the cop's behind them. And why is the cop behind me with lights on? So they continue about their business, and before you know it, this cop is either chase them down and tackle them off the bike. Or sometimes we'd see the video where they actually hit them with their patrol car to stop them. And then inevitably, you know, kids do what kids do. They find a small amount of drugs. They may find a weapon. And I get the thought process behind it. We're trying to curb criminal activity in these communities, but you don't go after people randomly trying to find crime. And that's what they were doing. And most of the time, these charges were being thrown out. We'd file a motion to suppress because they didn't have the right to come up. They didn't have any reasonable suspicion that this person was committing a crime or about to commit a crime, or they didn't have the probable cause enough to arrest them, and the cases get thrown out. And I think Andrew recognized that why waste our resources charging these crimes when they weren't going to even be convicted in the first place because you didn't have all the requirements there to get a conviction.
Well, but I think that he also said that it's gonna look, you want, and I don't know that any law enforcement leader is going to disagree with this. You want law enforcement agencies to have a good community relationship.
Yes,
you do. That is productive, and it contributes to public safety when there's trust between the community and law enforcement. The NAACP president, Yvette Lewis, she's weighed in on this recent policy change. She was vocal. So were you, Michelle. 2015, the headlines hit. Tampa Bay Times was the one that did the investigation and then reported on it. They started pulling data, and it resulted in that there were 80% of the tickets being issued to persons with bicycling violations were given to Black men. And the DOJ, Bob Buckhorn was the mayor at the time. Jane Castor was the chief. And interestingly, a couple of weeks, a very short period of time before she announced that she wanted to be mayor, she said that it was wrong.
Yes.
She said it was wrong, that was wrong. Okay. She has come out and been on the record saying that Andrew Warren's suspension, that it was wrong too. So this is a wrong policy, and he's justified it based on the article that I just read, that he's doing it because he wants to maintain good community relations, that the community trusts law enforcement. That's a good thing, so that they can work together for the public safety. And he said that that's one. He doesn't think that stopping Black men on bicycles, where the only charge that's left is resisting arrest without violence. He says that it's a small number of cases, 40, he said. I'd really like to see the number and the data on that. But if that's true, it is a minimal impact. He says he's not passing on the judgment of reasonable suspicion or probable cause. He's saying, they may have probable cause or reasonable suspicion, but if all you have, you stop the individual, there's no other crime activity, not drugs, nothing other than just you have a resisting arrest without violence, I'm not going to prosecute. And just one word I want to say. And I've had conversations about this behind the scenes. I like to get a kind of hear from different persons before I come on and I broadcast. I've talked to law enforcement, and I've spoken to persons in the community. And I say, we should encourage people to have their biking lights on that are required by law. And sometimes they say, well, what about, they don't stop the white people that don't have. Okay, that could be true, and it should be equal. I get it. What do you say about that, Michelle? If you're gonna have a bike at night, and look, it's not even like, take the racial profiling component on, which exists. Obviously, I'm thinking when you're looking at 80% Black people are getting it, that is very disproportionate. The DOJ even said it. Okay. Take away that. Shouldn't we encourage, especially brown and Black young men, to have their lights on their bike? Yes, for even their own safety, so that they don't get hit by a car.
Let me go all the way back. There was a former candidate who was running for sheriff, Gary Pruitt. Gary Pruitt was a retired TPD officer who wanted to take his his legal rights to run as a candidate for the next sheriff of Hillsborough County. And in his interview with myself, Gary admitted that he was a part of the Biking While Black task force that was with TPD. Gary also disclosed to me, and I have this in a private and public conversation that I released in a video footage on my Facebook page, that Gary alluded that that whole program, that whole department was designed to specifically target Blacks in East Tampa who were riding their bikes. Now, I can tongue wrestle a little bit with you regarding the lights, because Black people know that that was one of the mechanisms that they used to stop them in the beginning of riding bicycles. So people started putting fancy lights all over their bicycles. There were red lights, there were white lights, there were yellow lights, there was flashing lights. So on that part right there, no, I can't agree with you, because the lighting on the bicycles is phenomenal. Even to this day, people have come up with some of the most creative ways to have lights put on their bicycles. Even the Department of Justice, with the 73% of African Americans Blacks stopped on their bikes in the Department of the DOJ report, they also alluded that it was a crime what TPD did, just targeting Blacks. They deliberately, in the Department of Justice, which is all over Google, all over the internet, Yahoo, AOL, Bing, Google, whatever search engine you want to use, it is there.
Cheers.
All these pages are there where it says that they deliberately did this. And
okay. I don't know about any of that, but yeah, let's tongue wrestle, because
no. We will tongue wrestle, because you just read it that they did this disappropriation of Blacks. The 73%, it was targeting in Blacks.
Okay, so let me get a chance here.
I have the report right.
I understand. Hold on.
The U.S. Department of Justice released a long-awaited report Wednesday, 2015 morning, that found Tampa Police Department unfairly stopped and ticketed Black bicycles as a part of a bike stop program. The federal investigation was launched nearly a year ago. Speaking of 2015, former Tampa Police Chief Jane Castor requested the federal review after a Tampa Bay Times investigation raised the issue of racial profiling in bicycle stops by the Tampa Police Department. Even then, the mayor now admitted during her first candidacy run, that she had to go on record and admit that it was wrong. And just like prominent attorneys Michael Maddox and Luke LaRoe, who I interviewed, they both stated in the video that I did of them, that because her admission that it was wrong was an admission of guilt. And this is where we tried to gather litigants to come forward,
and nobody came
to sue the Tampa Police Department.
And
there were a few that Michael was able to, but not enough to say, you know what, let's hit them in their pockets where they hurt. Because the only universal language that white people in the U.S. government understands is lawsuits. Okay, that's how you change behavior, is lawsuits.
Let me jump in real quickly. I just wanted to say good morning to, is it Real Jingy? So cheers. That's the only name I have, man. Real Jingy, good morning, and thanks for tuning in. Thank you. So the DOJ said this. I'm not saying that I'm not on board with, if you stop someone, they're a minority, with everything that we have historically has happened since 2015. I'm on board with, you know what, if they resist arrest and there's no drugs, there's no violence, and it's only 40 or any amount, just especially if they have a clean record, but don't saddle them with a record now. I'm okay with that policy. I don't think that it should have been reversed. I'm okay with that. The DOJ, by the way, they didn't say it was criminal what they did. They said that, and in fact, when I read the article, it said that they unintentionally did something that has resulted in resulting in disparate numbers. And
Hey, the Praiser, don't you sugarcoat nothing with me, young lady.
let's go.
Don't you go put no cream and sugar in this. No, this coffee is black all the way. Don't put no cream and sugar in it because I don't.
I'm gonna read it again.
I don't want it. I don't want.
I'm gonna read it again. Let's go. Let's go, Michelle.
Katie, the policy was put in place for bike safety, right? So the policy was we want to stop bike accidents. We want to stop bike thefts. But you don't go to the communities where the bike accidents were happening the most. You don't go to the communities where the bike thefts were happening the most. And you weren't even recovering bikes that were stolen when they looked at everything. It was targeting Black folks. And that's what came out in the report. They targeted Black folks. A lot of people ended up with criminal records. And even worse, when you don't look at it all the way, the ramifications later on, some of these kids were getting tickets. They don't pay the ticket. No teenager is going to pay the ticket. 2, 3 tickets, whatever it takes. When they go and get their license now, their license is already suspended because they haven't paid the tickets. So what happens now? They get the driving one. We call it driving while license suspended, but it's actually driving while poor. And so all the ramifications that came from them doing that weren't there. And just the fear. I had a teenage son that was growing up in South Tampa. I didn't let him ride his bike. If he went to the community center, I would tell him, look, call me. I'll pick you up when you're done. Because I don't want you to have an interaction with the cops who knows what happens. You could get taken to jail. You could get killed. And that's the problem.
And that's all I'm saying, Michelle. I'm saying if it were me and it's my child, I want them to avoid as much as possible being targeted. And because some of these cases, they're being stopped because they don't have the required lights.
Then give out lights. All they had to do was start a program at the TPD. Hey, you come down here, you pick up a light from us. That's what fixed it.
Every officer's shift shouldn't be seen as opportunities for mining the Black communities for anything. Look, yes, I agree with that. But all I'm saying is, do you see any problem with that, Joshua? That I'm saying,
the program
because look, it's not only being targeted to get racially profiled with implicit bias by some officers. It's protecting the life of the individual so that they don't get hit by a car and killed.
Haiti to me is like we all grew up in a different generation. Cops weren't pulling people over on a bike. It makes no sense. Go find other crime. It didn't show the crime rates didn't go up or didn't change at all because you were talking to people. Leave them alone. They're riding a bike. If you don't see them actively committing a crime, then leave them alone. There's other crime out there for you to find. Just stop pulling people over on bikes, period. Forget about let's not prosecute them, because if you come into that engagement with officers, something's going to happen. Me as an attorney, 29-year vet of the Army, when I get pulled over for speeding, I have a fear of what's going to happen. I will text my friends and say, hey, I just got pulled over. Just so you know, I'll text you back when this interaction is done, because you never know what's going to happen as a Black man, and especially as a Black kid.
Okay, Michelle.
Okay, listen.
And then I'm going to show the article again so that it says unintentionally.
The person that's commenting, I like the fact that they use the word mining. Real Jingy is onto something. And unfortunately, we have this. Josh knows this. You know this. Both of you know this as criminal defense attorney, especially Joshua being a public defender who worked in the public defender's office. That every shift on the sheriff's or the city police department, you have different officers. You have some officers that come in, and you have some officers that come in, do their job because guess what they're trying to do? They're trying to get back home to their family and loved ones safely. They're not coming out into community to make ruckus. You have some officers who have not written tickets in quite a while, and they're getting in trouble by their superiors. And I like the fact that this person, Real Jingy, called a spade a spade. I'm a spade caller. This is an issue that we have. If the police are supposed to protect and serve, and they're supposed to protect and serve across the board, it has to protect and serve from 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and 11 to 7. Not when an officer is feeling that they're in a good mood that they want to protect and serve. I want to know where is this unintentionally?
Okay, here it is. Here it is.
Haiti, I have the same report up. Where is this unintentional reporting in Lithia Pinecrest? Where's this unintentional reporting in Brandon? Where's this unintentional reporting in Plant City, in Valrico, in Dover, in Beesville, in Waimama, in Ruskin, and Riverview? Where are all these same officers to do this inside the white community? Because I tell you one thing, the white mother's son stopped on a bike being accused of stealing a bike after their parents had paid a couple $100s for it. Trust me and you, that officer would have been suspended without pay. That officer probably would have got in trouble or demoted and found himself on ticket duty or in somebody's parking lot just watching somebody.
I hear you, Michelle. And that's a good argument. You know, you should become a lawyer. That was a good argument.
No, I wanted to become a doctor.
No, well, because you said that they said it was criminal, and that's not that they didn't say it was criminal. They said it was unintentional. But I hear your point. Your point is back. You're volleying back to me, volleying the ball back to me, saying, right, where is that unintentional disparity in the other communities that are not predominantly Black? I hear you. It's a problem.
Guess what I did? I said something that the DOJ should have had the balls to say. It was criminal. It was downright criminal. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I don't want cream and sugar in my coffee this morning. I want it straight Black, because this has happened to my people. This has happened to two of my little cousins. Two of my cousins that were under the age of 25 years old got pulled over off 22nd Street over in East Tampa. And guess what? Both of their bikes paid for. Both of them had lights. Both of them won. Both of the tickets thrown out of court. This happened to family members. So guess what? I'm just a little bit perturbed about all of this sugarcoating that people want to do. It was downright freaking criminal what TPD did. And for a mayor who was running as a candidate to only admit, her only admission of guilt is because she wanted the Black vote. And guess what? That's what she used to pacify the Black elders in East Tampa. Jane, did you do this? Well, yes.
Okay, I hear you, and then I'm bored. I'm bored with the policy that was just rescinded, or better yet, look, I don't play for the blue team or the red team. Okay, there is something to say about you have to. Let's say that somebody gets stopped on the bike and you're giving them reasonable suspicion when you don't have lights. You just star. When you don't. Okay, no, you're giving them reasonable suspicion to stop you. Let's be honest here.
Let's pull the reports then. Let's pull all 2,300 something reports and see how many bikes was stopped that actually didn't have lights.
Joshua, am I right? You're a criminal defense attorney. Okay. If you don't have the adequate lights, is it a violation of the traffic law? Do you give law enforcement reasonable suspicion to stop you?
Eddie, of course, I have to go with the law and say, yes, you do. But the cops stop everything that they see reasonable suspicion on? No. They don't always. They exercise discretion. They can say they have reasonable suspicion, but I mean, you can watch this kid. If it's not midnight, riding on a bike, and you're about to hazard, why are you bothering me?
I think if you're stopped with you give them reasonable suspicion by not having the adequate lighting, and the only thing that then happens is resisting arrest without violence. I think they should drop those. I do. I think those should be dumped, because that person was not doing anything else, and it may very well be that they're being stopped because of racial profiling, implicit bias, whatever. I agree with that.
But Haiti, here's the thing. Jaywalking. Jaywalking is a crime. How many people have you seen stop for jaywalking? If I do it incorrectly, the cops coming by, hey, go by in the crosswalk.
Do you want to be prosecuted for jaywalking? Because I jaywalk.
But that's the same
I don't want to be prosecuted.
That's the same thing with the biking. You can say the same thing with the biking. Hey, you're riding your bike without a light. That's a crime.
Have you ever jaywalked in downtown Tampa when you're going into court? All the time.
Hey, you don't have a light on your bike. Next time I see you, you better have your bike. I don't have to stop you. I can just stop my car real quick, let you know. If I have one in my car, I hand one to you. Hey, put this on your bike next time. They can pay for those. They're $10.
Listen, I agree with that.
There's no.
I agree with that. I do. I don't agree with stopping somebody just because of bike lights, not having them. And there's nothing there. They don't have drugs. They're not doing anything criminal, nothing. Everything is on the up and up, other than that they don't have lights. I don't think that then, you're resisting me without violence, I'm taking you to jail. You're going to get a criminal record. You got to bond out all the monies. If you get a private attorney, or whether you're appointed to the public defender's office, the public defender's office has enough cases. Okay. Right. So they don't need more of these cases that really shouldn't even be in the system.
But
Michelle.
inevitably, it turns into an illegal search and seizure too sometimes. Because as soon as they pull you over, hey, can I check your pockets? You got anything on you? Why are we doing all of that? All you stopped me for was a bike light. Why do you need to search me? And the average public don't know that
That's
I can
true.
say no, that I can say no to an officer to search me. If I'm stopped and 2 officers are surrounding me, asking me to search my pockets, yeah, I guess so.
That's true. That's the way that it goes down sometimes, and then it leads to but you know, you're gonna fight it in court. I'm gonna fight it in court. Whether a judge rules the way that the judge should rule under the law and under the facts, that's another thing to be seen. But okay, so Joshua, I'm gonna invite you in the near future, since you are going to run to be the next public defender. Maybe we should do a broadcast on talking about the rights that we have and that the community, those who will be susceptible to being subjected to an illegal stop, detention, search and seizure. We should bring you on to educate a little. Yes?
Definitely.
Okay, so give your a little bit of information. Tell us a little bit about you now that you are going to be seeking to be the next Hillsborough County Public Defender.
Well, I don't know if you can kind of hear the accent, but I'm originally from Massachusetts. I joined the Army when I was a young 17-year-old. Spent 29 years. I recently retired in March. I graduated law school back in 2008, but it was at the heyday of the war. I had already came back. I spent 1 tour in Iraq during Operation Freedom, Iraqi Freedom in 2003. I took a 25-man platoon of Bradleys into Baghdad, right into the heart where Saddam was at, and brought back all 25 men proudly. I came here to Tampa to decide to finally pursue my legal career after deploying a couple more times. And I went straight to the public defender's office. And I'm the lawyer I am today because of that office. I loved being there. I learned a lot. I ended up going down to Miami for a while doing civil insurance defense. And then I went off to Pasco and did PD's office there for a while. And now I'm in a criminal defense firm. And a lot of people ask me, well, you're at a criminal defense firm, the private sector. Why would you want to go back to the PD's office? And it goes back to what I said. I love that office. I learned a lot there under both Julie and Rocky. But I've noticed in the last few years, as I watch, a lot of my colleagues have left that office, out of frustration. I've noticed that the turnover rate has gone pretty high there. You see young lawyers come in and young lawyers leave within a few months. And you see some lawyers that have only been there a few months that are now shuffled from juvenile all the way up to felony in a quick manner. And it's concerning. And so I want to bring a different view to that office. I think, after 30 years, any person that's been in office for 30 years, you need to have a new vision. And if you're appointing the same person that's been underneath you for about 20 of those, you're going to get the same thing. I learned in the military, there's 2 ways to lead. You can lead through fear or you can lead through respect. And when you lead through fear, people are going to do just enough to get by. They don't want to get in your way. They don't want to piss you off. But when you lead through respect, people are going to go above and beyond. They're going to do everything in their power to keep you happy. They're going to be there and they're going to work extra hours. And that's what you need in the PD's office. You need people who want to be there, who are happy to be there, who are allowed to be lawyers. And I want to bring that family environment back to the PD's office. And I think my vision and my leadership, out of the candidates that are running, I'm the best one to do that.
Michelle, do you want to say anything about your experience with the PD? Do you want to comment at all on the race, the 2024?
I say congratulations, Joshua. I am so ecstatic to know you, meeting you at the Candy Low Tea Time. I love everything about you, your vibe, your tenacity, and it takes a bull. You will make history, and I want to be on the right side of history, of knowing that I was able to get out and stump for, advocate, and take charge of having such a prestigious, decorated individual lead the Hillsborough County citizens, both in Tampa and Hillsborough County, with to a public safety officer who will ensure that justice keeps her blindfold on at 801 East Twiggs Avenue in Tampa, Florida. Back to Susan Lopez, the newly appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis state attorney. again, I've learned a lot about Miss Lopez, and I'm concerned about who's pulling the strings behind her. Susan has a very good reputation as far as the law, and I'm deeply concerned. If I don't know anything, one thing for certain, and two things for sure, when there is a white agenda behind something, they will, one thing that my comrade, Miss Connie Burton, says, that the government has a file on all of us who have ever spoken out against injustices. And I'm just going to say, everything is documented on the internet. Sometimes you got to just start digging and researching on people, judicial qualification complaints and stuff. You just got to dig a little bit deeper to be able to find some things. But again, it's disingenuous. The first act of her being the newly appointed state attorney is to go in and undo something that has said, you know what, we're not going to criminalize young black men and homeless people for riding a bicycle that may or may not have the adequate lighting that it should have on it. And we're not going to criminalize them because they tell you to get your hands off me when they know that they're just riding their bike down a city street or a city sidewalk. And that is the criminalization. Defense attorney, hey there, the president, my dear friend that I am speaking about. It becomes criminalization when an officer knows that they are intentionally stopping someone who is of color on a bicycle to say, you know what? Let me take this bike. Let me turn it over. Let me see if it has serial numbers. Are the serial numbers scribbled off? Are where does this come? Look at the fact that many bicycles have been pawned at the local pawn shop on 22nd in Hillsborough, where he should have been in trouble for dealing in stolen property. But did we go to that intention? Did we go to that one of the oldest landmarks in Hillsborough County in the city of Tampa, dealing in stolen property? This is factual information, so, and then homeless people go up there to buy a bicycle, and now guess what? Now the homeless person is in trouble. But the police officer don't care that the fact that serial number that they have to input into their computer system, which should be nation and statewide, in county and citywide, that if a serial number on a bicycle, then why didn't the police department have a mechanism set up in office about that to see that the pawn shops are dealing in stolen property?
Okay, well, so the only thing that I can offer is, so if there's any questionable stops, any stops where the facts are such that the current state attorney should get on board with saying, no, this isn't going to serve.
Did I miss your drive? Because this is not the Haiti that I know. Where's the drive?
What are you talking about? My word. And I already had, of course, listen, you have no idea. Listen.
Something missing because your drive.
No. Listen to me, because I took some supplementation to calm me down.
Oh, okay. Because I'm not used
I took some L-theanine today. I took some ashwagandha this morning because if not, you know me. I gotta get a little bit of. You have no idea what's behind the scenes and what's in the works. So what I was just about to say, and I was queuing up Joshua's information, okay, where he works, because I was going to say that this is Joshua Monteiro. He works at the Samus Law Firm, 813-250-0500. Go ahead, reach out to him. Is that, am I putting this? Let me put this complete screen. Joshua Monteiro. He works at the Samus Law Firm, 813-250-0500. And what I was going to say is, I also do criminal defense. You can reach me on my cell, 727-214-4930. If you think that you've been stopped and that the facts are questionable, bike stop in Hillsborough, I'm going to speak with you at no cost, free consultation, and I'm going to scrutinize and see if your case merits attention, to contact that office and say, this is not a bike stop for the purposes that we've already discussed, reasons we've discussed should be prosecuted. Are you willing to do the same thing, Joshua?
Definitely. If they want to call, and I'll look into any of those cases. I take it personal, Haiti. And I didn't mention it because it didn't happen in Tampa. When I was in my young 20s, I had Biking While Black happen to me. I was in Kansas at the time, and in Kansas is a predominantly white population. I was in the Army, active duty, a young soldier. I was riding a bike from a friend's house, and I had a cop come behind me and pull me over and stop me. And he was like, "Where you going?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you're in this neighborhood. What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm just riding the bike." He was like, "Well, do you have identification on you?" And, young kid, I didn't think I needed my license while I'm riding a bike. So I was taken off the bike. I was put in handcuffs on the side of the road. And I sat there for an hour until they could get in touch with one of my NCOs, which is a sergeant in the Army, to verify that I was actually in the Army and active duty. And this is an area right outside of the base where they would think that if I'm a black guy and I'm not from Kansas, I would be in the Army, and they didn't care. So having gone through that experience, it's just, to me, it's always going to be troubling that you're stopping somebody on a bike for nothing, for just identification.
Okay, so yeah, so I've plugged the firm that you work at so that to get traffic to you. If again you're stopped in Hillsborough County, biking while black, you can contact me. I won't charge you a penny. So, and Joshua too, to call him. There's his phone, 813-431-3502. Is that your cell?
That's my cell phone.
Okay, great. That's his cell. We'll say it one more time. Joshua Monteiro, 813-431-3502. This isn't a money thing for me.
Not at all.
I'm disturbed by racial disparities. How's my drive now, Michelle? How's my drive now? You don't want Haiti hyped up without no supplementation, Michelle. You don't. And Cuban coffee in her. You don't want that. So if that, I'm going to make myself available. You're unmuted, or you're muted rather.
I'm saying I'm used to that. I'm so used to that Haiti,
727-214-4930, free consultation. If you think this was a racially profiled stop, I'm available to freely consult with you. And if there's a problem, I'm gonna make some noises, okay? And the next time, if I get a call and the facts are such that it does merit, justice will be met in dumping that case. I'm gonna not take my supplementation that day, and I'm gonna come on and I'm gonna talk about that. So all right, so it's 10:48. Do you want to say anything before we wrap up, Joshua?
Hey, just thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome, and I hope that you're gonna come on regularly.
Yes, ma'am.
The election's out 2 years out, 2024, but I think that I'd like you to come on so that you can engage with the public and speak on these issues, which are very important. Okay, what we got the tongue wrestling we had today was I want you to like step it up, girl.
I love it.
I wanted you to step it up because yeah,
I wasn't ready, but I love it.
you can bid us all goodbye, Michelle, and say whatever you need to say before I say bye-bye, and everyone enjoy their Saturday.
If people don't know that I met Haiti nearly 8 years ago, and we were fighting downtown for the Citizen Review Board, and we have developed a beautiful sisterhood, friendship, advocacy together, and become real voices of the community. I love working with her. Haiti has helped me on so many different levels. We had an issue with people having their driver's license suspended. Haiti jumped right in, and we set hours inside her little small tiny office over in Clearwater, making sure that she went to court filing motions and getting people back their driver's license. This is the Haiti Odopresa that I want each of you all to know, that she is a fighter. Joshua, I look forward to getting out stomping with you. You just don't know how much, like, I've been telling everybody about you. Look, guys, we gotta, this is history in the making. This is history in the making. Not only am I, again, wanting to be on the right side of justice, not just for people of color, but for all of God's children where we are needed, because I'm finding that, I'm getting a lot of phone calls from people who are living in blighted trailer parks, off of Hillsborough Avenue now, where they're young single white mothers who are being targeted now and have become, just as Black mothers have become homeless. And these are issues where crimes have taken place and become drug infested. So I'm looking forward to sitting down, bending you and Hades' ear on something that I've been working on the scene behind regarding that, because I see that the targeting is happening, that with the gentrification, poor people, period. With gentrification, poor people, period, are being, rushed out into the country, unincorporated side of Hillsborough County, and now they're being targeted. Haiti, I've enjoyed this program, and I look so forward every time I get that phone call. Are you in? Are you game? Are you down? So look, I love it. I love it. I love
Thanks
it.
for coming on. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for all you've done in all the years that you've been serving the community, in lending your voice to speak out against what's wrong in the system. Thank you. Thanks, Joshua. So Haiti Oropesa with Florida You Judge. Thank you for tuning in. Please share and enjoy your Saturday. God bless until next time.
God bless.
God bless.